the internet. Today I have a front lip with no texture, as I have the Bolide track toy. This is here because it's the theme of lightweight today, and I decided, hey, why not start out with this? We have had the Bolide Corsair Competizione here, but this is the base model because it's the one that's light. So, you know, maybe we'll be able to set some good times here. As I say, it is the base model, so it hasn't got loads of power. It's just got the base engine, I think. But that means it does fit under 1,000 kilograms, which was the threshold I used for this. I didn't want anything above that, as I wouldn't really consider it a lightweight. But this, I mean, for something with 370 horsepower, it's not slow. Well, because of a low weight, it's still got a lot of speed to it, and I almost lost it there, but this is quite nice to drive, I won't lie. Again, given it's got 370 horsepower, it could be a nightmare, but it just isn't. I mean, it's just nice, really. And around we go, gently on it. The gears feel very close, but it could just be me imagining it, or me after driving certain other vehicles, and that was quite nicely saved there. Not that it'll mean much if the rest of the lap is thrown away, as it looks like I'm about to do right now. Gently round here. Yes, floor it now. And fourth gear. Well, gotta slow down, slow down, slow down. Unfortunately, it could not be saved there. I mean, the best thing to do is just to let it slide into a gravel trap and let that kind of just grab the car. Because other than that, it would only get worse. I can hope the third lap's good. I now know I need to brake early there as not to mess things up completely. And this will oversteer a bit. It's weird, it oversteers a bit, but then when I lift off, it just suddenly gets grip again. So it's kind of got that difficulty to it, but otherwise it is not a bad car to drive at all. Kind of cut through here, yes, like so. Third gear. I'm almost forgetting how to change gear, but not quite. Thankfully, I do still vaguely know how gearboxes work. Come on, round here we go. I'm being fairly smooth though. I would say I'm improving with this car and how it adapts to the circuit and whatever. Also, maybe the tyres are warm, maybe that's helping. It definitely has potential though, even being the base model. I reckon it will be the quickest car today. It is also the heaviest car today. Ooh. Yep, that was actually very well done into there. I mean, tooting my own horn and all, as they say, in the 1920s, probably. But still, gotta slow into here. I feel this lap is going well. I mean, I've not, like, done everything 100% perfect, but it is smooth enough and tidy enough to get round the corners and get around the corners at some speed, I feel. Remember, although 370 horsepower, it is pulling less weight, so this should be capable of competing with more modern machinery. And oh yeah, I think the second lap's probably going to be the best now. It just took me by surprise there, and I guess I messed up the gearing. I should have a half decent one though. The second lap, even though I did slide off on that first corner, I didn't lose as much speed there as I perhaps might have had I slammed into a wall. I guess testament to how much grip can be in these things. Wait, no, this lap is still my best, despite the problems, and I think it's a very fast lap. So, here we are, back at the start line, because, well, my PC basically had a panic attack, and maybe it didn't want everyone to find out that this vehicle is now our quickest by just under 3.5 seconds. It's beaten the ETK by that much, and that is without all-wheel drive, and that is with significantly less power. So I hope I'm getting my point across here, that having less weight can really help a car's chances. Anyway, I did think I saved what I needed to save, so you should just see this video as normal. I mean, I've not lost anything. Anyway, on to the next video. I mean, vehicle, yes. Next up, we have the Satsuma 210 Rotary 3 Turbo, or something using that combination of words. Anyway, it has some 600 horsepower, so yes, I'm not expecting it to be that controllable, although it does send power from the front to the rear, which usually means the car is a bit more predictable than mid-engine cars, which seem to be a bit more all over the place. It is also, as the name implies, a rotary powered vehicle, and yeah, you'll see there, I was struggling to get going. Once I am going, it's better, to say the least, and it does have fender mirrors, which are brilliant. Oh dear, just to say that, how dare I compliment the car, eh? It's actually got the Satsuma 1200 badge on the dash. I don't think it is, though. I think it's more 1300, if it is the rotary I'm thinking of. Come on. I mean the rotary engine I'm thinking of from the RX-7, maybe RX-8 even. That also had a 1.3. So, gotta slow it down. I did make a bit of a mess of things there, but thankfully it was just a mess of the lap time as opposed to a mess of the actual car's conditioning. You know, we can always correct things like that later. Oh dear. It's just remembering how powerful this is. It's easy to let slip how quick it is, and it was never designed as a sports car, so I'm surprised it's having the power as well as it is, if I'm honest. I mean, I've had mid-engine cars and they've been nightmares. Here, I have to go very light on the power or it will slide, but it's at least letting me know that. It's at least letting me know it doesn't want me to use the full power. I can tell. I've just realised as well I don't have a roll cage or a front bumper, so basically don't get into a crash. It's probably a good idea if you stay away from anything that vaguely resembles a wall, like that one right up ahead. Gently round here. I'm just in third gear because it feels good for the car. The suspension's quite soft, but that's a good thing. Although it does mean it's slopping about a lot on the suspension, it means also that I'm able to tackle these curbs and bumps without much trouble. As does the raised wide height mean that. I don't think it's raised over stock, but I mean, compared to something like a Bolide, it is definitely taller, and that is helping it a great deal. Just gradually, I'm not going to just floor it. Again, third gear for basically the entire lap. I do not know how this is going to go. Fourth gear. I could just feel the back going. If the back had started going like that though, on a mid-engine car, there would be no way to save it. On this, I can just shift up and let it correct itself. Or try and do some fancy steering work and then try and correct it myself. Gently through here. I was going quite wide, but I'm proud of this lap actually. I've done a good job of it. Oh, I shouldn't have broke before the finish line. That's going to have cost me time, but whoa. I briefly glanced at the time, and that is similar. I only caught 119. I'm not sure what the last numbers are, but this is, well, similar to that Bolide track toy we've just had. Well, I weren't expecting it to be that quick, and should not have shifted into first. That is a far too low gear for this car, around this particular track, or probably around any track. It's probably only like a launch gear, if that. Gently does it round here. You see, the bumps are going to be uncomfortable, but the suspension is dealing with them, and that's the important thing. I believe it's got independent front and leaf springs on the back, so, you know, it's not the worst. It also hasn't got a ladder frame, so it would say a lot for ladder-framed vehicles if this is somehow able to do well. Yeah, I knew to shift up there, that's good. the second lap told me that. It told me, hey, you need to shift up earlier there as to protect the car from going, and I'm going to need to turn in earlier here as well as to protect the car from steering out wide. Fourth gear as I ease onto a straight and then just get the beans, really. Yeah. I think it's slower, but only slightly. So that would put this car into... Oh dear. Yeah. I was saying about crashing. Mind, without a front bumper, it survived that quite well. And thankfully the steering wheel is on this side. So you might actually survive if you had a seatbelt on. But anyway, you know. Yeah, the steering wheel's just pulling that way now. But either way, this is good. It's still got one working light. I'm amazed. I won't lie. I'm just amazed by how quick a 1950s Japanese saloon can be. I mean, I knew Japanese cars were good, but I didn't know they were just this good. Does it actually have rear seats? If I pull the door off, it'll probably let me see. Yeah, that is almost as quick as a built-up tractor with one seat in like a family car, which can seat 4, maybe 5 people. I mean, this is truly amazing. It is, although it is not quicker than a Bolide tractor, it is definitely a bigger surprise. So here we have a Peugeot, aka an example of my incompetence. I thought this was significantly lighter than the Satsuma. As it turns out, it's only 2 or 3 kilograms, so I just barely got away with, you know, getting the order of weights correct. Anyway, it is the 1.9 variant of a Peugeot 205 GTI. Not much more to say, really. And it is quite loud, actually. That is coming after a rotary-powered Satsuma, so it says something. It does handle very nicely, and it is the lightest hot hatchback I could find, so that also says something good about this car. I'm loving the way this corners. It has about 140 horsepower, if I remember correctly, so nowhere near as powerful as you might want. Ooh, we're going wide. It is also front-wheel drive, as you may have been able to tell by that particular, let's say, misdemeanor. Round here we go. Keeping it in 3rd gear. Seeming to be a popular gear these days. As I cut across there to try and kind of correct for my steering, make the line look a bit smoother. Although really I have just been ridiculous. Again, I'm going lock to lock with this. I didn't have to do that. The Satsuma was just so much more balanced. It's weird you should say that about a 600 horsepower front engine rear drive like compact car from the 50s, but that is the truth as I see it, let's say. It's still not going to be slow. I can tell there's a lot of performance potential in this car, but it just can't match it. Like 134, normally that would be an incredibly quick time, but in that case of what we've had today, it just isn't. Mind, that was the first lap, so there's still more for it to give as we kind of fly across those curbs. Thankfully, being a road car, it has the suspension. Again, like the Satsuma, it had the suspension to deal with this stuff, but it's also very light, so when the corners come around, you know, it can deal with them. I'm flooring it now and losing speed because of all the lock I'm having to use. I mean, a car like this would be great fun around the right circuit. Around here it isn't, because there's just too many really, really tight corners for it to be like great fun, as you would think. But the handling is definitely good. It's definitely better than certain other hatches would be, and I reckon a Covet would be a lot more understeery, because driving this and then driving a Covet, it's like driving the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 Golf GTIs back to back in Forza. The Mark 1 just feels so much more exciting than the Mark 2, which although is probably a better built, more sensible car, you know, it just doesn't have that excitement factor. And I'm kind of cutting a corner there, like I shouldn't be. Whee! Probably shouldn't have put a wheel into the air either. It's probably meaning I'm not putting power down as effectively as I should. And I've just realised, maybe that is quick. I don't know. 129. I'm forgetting what kind of times cars are setting now. Oh, just floor it now. It actually started oversteering by itself. I'm so proud. But no, I just had to floor it. Being front wheel drive, you can floor it and hope the car will recover itself. And it did, in that case, work out for me. Round the edge of that corner, again being front wheel drive, I can get away with it. Because it's always going to pull. It's never going to like oversteer and throw me into the ditch. I'm in the 120s though. So, you know, it's definitely beating the Hopeless, I can say that. We won't have the Hopeless beating my GTI anytime soon. And I'm flooring it in 3rd gear. You would have gone into 4th had this been the Satsuma and you were driving it properly. Oh, see, another bit of oversteer. Had to do all funky things with the wheel to try and get it stabilised. Whoa! You know when you're pushing a car when it rolls. Amazingly, I haven't broken the windscreen. And I just keep on going. Something about that corner and it just likes to roll cars. Still, the 2nd lap was good, and I'm happy for it. So, here we have the car after it's rolled and everything, and it actually put up with a wall quite well, given its age and such. The front window is also apparently cracked, although it didn't show that from the interior. It is. I can just change the view, yeah. No cracked window at all. From the outside, though, it is. Strange, but that's just the way it is. Anyway, I can unfortunately only say this vehicle has done well, but it hasn't done excellently. I mean, it appears to be a letdown compared to other vehicles I've had today, which is not true. It did beat Blobbert, but it only just beat Blobbert. Blobbert would have still beaten this car if it had been a less rolly thing, and if it had not rolled at this corner up here. So yeah, you know, it's not the best, but it's a pretty good sports car, especially considering its age and that this is not modified in any way. Anyway, without further ado, let's actually open this. There's the engine. Anyway, on to the next vehicle. Next up we have the Satsuma 100 120 AMP, and I can find the lights. It is the car from my summer car. Yes, only this being the 120 AMP defaults to blue, and it has a legendary race engine that few even knew existed, basically. Still, the fact that it defaults to blue is very important because it is a Core 2 Duo channel, and yes, that is probably going to unlock the full potential of this car. Now, I'm hoping this will be like the other Satsuma, but this one is front-wheel drive, so who knows. It feels like I'm on assisted steering, which is weird. I didn't know BeamNG had any kind of assisted steering. Maybe it just caught onto some curvature in the road and kind of went round it. This is nice. It's track modified, by the way. That is also kind of a trim. I should have mentioned that sooner, but I didn't. Rightio. Along we go. Gently slow down into first gear for this next corner. This is a lot easier to drive than the Peugeot. It just has so much more turning. And that is brilliant. Now this is based off of a wheel car actually, even though it is just the My Summer car vehicle as most people will call it, and I'm kind of doing a bit of rallying with it now as it is a track tune car. No, I got back on the track. Yeah, being track tuned though is probably why it takes corners so well as it does. I will be honest, that and the fact that it weighs ever so slightly less, but it probably weighs only just less than the Peugeot because of the roll cage and things. If it hadn't had those, it would probably be even lighter still. And I mean, this is a light car. It's just over 750 kilograms. It is not heavy. I mean, that appeared slow, and I shouldn't be shifting down to first. I'm shifting down to first, and I should be in second. I'm just not used to it, you know? I've got used to a different type of vehicle where you can now shift into first. Although it looks like track cars in BeamNG just generally don't like you shifting into first. At least not around this type of circuit. But they don't like you going in the really high gears either around there, so I don't know. Yes, I'm smoothing out my driving line though quite nicely. And by doing such, I'm going to save the time. This will be quicker than the Peugeot, I can tell now, but it's more powerful than the Peugeot, it's lighter than the Peugeot, big surprise. And in my opinion, it takes corners better than the Peugeot as well. Yeah, but it is a race car, so it shouldn't be surprising. Even though it started as a road-going chassis, it is now a race car, no doubt about it. But as I said, these were just based on a everyday road-going car, a car that was actually in its day very common, and I almost rolled it at roly-poly. Yeah, that is now the name of that corner. That is a very quick time. Right, so try and work it round here. I know I shifted up there and I didn't really have to, but I just didn't want to be bouncing off the limiter for ages. It takes these bumps quite well. I'm surprised by just how well it does as I hop across the curbs there. The thing is, I'm able to actually take these corners surprisingly quickly because it just doesn't understeer as you would expect a front-wheel drive to. I mean, you know, I expect so many front-wheel drives to just understeer, and this one just doesn't. I expected it to understeer, but it doesn't. It just gets round the corners and it goes. That's why it's able to set such incredible times, but at the same time it's not rear-wheel drive, so I don't have any kind of oversteer. I mean, it's lovely. And then it doesn't have the downsides of all-wheel drive, or the major downside, which is added weight, which, I mean, puts a lot of other problems into factors. Not going to change gear here. Gently does it. And then downhill will kind of ease up the speed. And I won't have to think much about it. 19, 20, 21. Yeah, just under 22 seconds. I should have probably shifted down there, but I got to the end just fine. So, we're on 21.9. This is a nice time, actually. Not as good as the older Satsuma, but the older Satsuma had a engine swap. And, well, I guess this has an engine swap, but a swap to a much newer engine. And it was lighter, and it was rear-wheel drive. Or it was heavier, and it was rear-wheel drive. But mainly just the fact that it was rear-wheel drive, and it had so much power, helped it to get the power down around corners and go incredibly quickly. But the fact that these Japanese economy cars were occupying second and third on our leaderboard, the Satsumas are truly impressive. I don't know what to say. This is probably the most amazing of them all, though, because it does it without huge amounts of power. It just grips to the corner and drags the rest of the car around it. Unless I'm being stupid and it's actually rear-wheel drive, so I'll just flip it over so we can both see. I'll say that, and then there's probably going to be like 10 people watching this. So all of us can see, let's say, is probably a better way of putting it. There we go. It is front-wheel drive, and I've wrecked the car a bit. Anyway, let's see what makes this car so special, engine-wise. Well, doesn't look like anything special. I'm guessing they just didn't put like a red engine cover or anything on to like designate that this is a special model, figuring that not many people would look at it anyway. At least not frequently. Still, with a very impressive time out the way, I'll move on to the next vehicle. Next up, we have a very strange looking vehicle, but it is also one of the truly lightweight vehicles. You'll see leaf springs on the back. It is a Dove, Ibishu Dove even, and it is a pickup because the pickup is lighter than the estate type version, or SUV is probably more accurate. It's also rear wheel drive, and would you call it an SUV? It's so small. Small utility vehicle, I guess. Anyway, this is the pickup version with rear wheel drive because that is the lightest version as I turn my lights off. Ooh, yeah, you'll see the problem though immediately. We have a lack of weight in the rear, so I'll just have to use blind hope to set a good time with this. I didn't go into the wall there quite. Thankfully the first laps are very rarely the quickest one, sorry. Oh dear. It does not like curbs. It is not like the Satsuma 210, for example. It doesn't just deal with them. It doesn't like dealing with them. I think this is another ladder-framed vehicle, though. It's surprising how many ladder-framed lightweights we've got. I mean, there's only 2, and I don't think there's any others coming up either, but the fact that there's 2 of them in a convention that's not very lightweight in itself is very odd. It's based on the Ibishu Pigeon, so, you know, oh dear. The way I just went on that corner, I couldn't do much about it, but as I was saying, it's based on the Ibishu Pigeon, only it's got 4 wheels, so it's more stable. The issue with doing what has been done to this car, well, it's not like as likely to tip over, but it is likely to slide, and that slidiness can get in the way. But being the lightweights week, I just decided I should go with whichever the lightest version of a GTZ was, and it was the version without all-wheel drive and the version which was also a pickup truck, so that's why. If we just gently proceed, you didn't need to snatch first gear. I think it's the same as the was it Satsuma in that respect? Both Satsumas even, you don't need to go into first gear ever. There's just no need for it. If we gently ease in and out of these corners, it doesn't slide as such. Again, I'm going a bit wide. Maybe I'm treating it a bit more like a front wheel drive than I should. Maybe I'm treating it a bit like a Ferrari even, or a Bolide, where they can snap on you because of that mid-engine layout, but I think if I get it right, it's going to be quick. That's why when I chose this vehicle, I didn't back out, because it's much like the Mazda Cosmo. You know, it might not in itself be the very easiest thing to drive, but it feels like there's enough potential here that, driven properly, it can be very, very quick. This lap is better than the first lap, for example. I'm just a lot smoother, as you can see. I did go into a sandbar there, but I was able to pull out of it and keep driving just fine without any major consequences. Ooh, the interior does bobble about on the chassis a lot. I mean, I'll give you that for some detail that you could probably already see. Ooh dear, slow into a second. I'm not focusing. Right. First, what am I doing? I mean, I just lost focus for a moment, and it went on me, really, without me thinking. That's why you need to be focused when driving this. I think this lap's been thrown away now. The vehicle is fully working, so I will drive it to the end again, but I just don't think I can do any better than the second lap, which was at least in itself okay. I mean, it did go on the sand trap a bit, but besides that, it was a good one. Yeah, it's just, I can't fully go foot to the floor like I could with the Satsuma 100, which, although it didn't have a huge amount of power, I could just go foot to the floor for a lot of the course. Oh dear. Come on. I'm not going to try and go too quick now. as in shifting to first, because as you'll see, it's picked up again now. I mean, I think this lap has gone. After I had that full spin, it had gone, really. It hasn't tipped over yet, though. So, I wouldn't say it's a horrible thing to drive. It isn't. It's just unpredictable. But not like Bolide unpredictable. It's not that bad. It's just almost that bad. Yeah, 133. I'm sure it's beaten something. So, here we have it. It has come just below the monster truck, a bit of lag there, and just above the Bolide Corsair competition. Yep, you heard that right. It has beaten a Bolide race car. It is just that controllable. I mean, the front bumper's there because it had a bit of an impact with the wall. It's also very tough, as you'll see. If I just throw this about. I save that as the cabin comes off. Well, the steering wheel stayed. Those bits will come off because they're just bodywork, but look at this tough old ladder frame, eh? Yeah. You can see the suspension now. Anyway, it did reasonably well for what it is, but ultimately, there's just no weight on the back, and there's no all-wheel drive either to compensate for that, so it's had its problems because of the fact. It's still not as uncontrollable as a Bolide, though, as I said. It's not quite that bad. I can use probably more power than I could on that vehicle and get away with it without spinning the vehicle. Either way, with that being said and done, on to the next vehicle. Next up, we have the Maluch 126p. This is the rally version. And the one place there's no texture is on the number plates, oddly. The rest of the vehicle appears to be completely fine, but no, the number plates are problematic, let's say. It also seems a lot quieter in here, which is interesting. It doesn't seem to have any kind of sound deadening, but, you know, it's much, much quieter here. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I need to get going, so I will. Bit of odd speedometer lag there. Come on, catch up. Oh. Yeah, as I remember, these like to tip. That was a bit worse than I remember, though. I mean, I just went into the first corner. Sure, I wasn't focusing as much as I perhaps should have been, but it just went over. So, I'm going to have to start this again because I just rolled it at the first corner before. I mean, that was a bit of a poor start, but what are you going to do about it? I mean, I could keep going back and retrying, but it was decent enough start. Yeah, I just wasn't focusing and it went over. The thing does roll surprisingly easy, just as I remembered, but perhaps a bit worse. Being the rally version, though, it should have even softer suspension, even woollier suspension, but it does deal with the curbs, that's what I was getting onto, as you saw back there. I'm not going hard on the accelerator now because, well, I will now, but just back then because it could have easily gone into a real mess, and then I'm kind of on the really odd racing line here. If you can even call it a racing line, it's just the brakes were turning the car, but not in the direction I wanted it to turn. Oh dear. Gotta slow down. First gear is probably good because I'm going so slow. Oh dear. I was using my smallest finger to change gear there. Not conventionally what you would do, but it was at the time all I could do because my hand was in a very strange place. Right, up here we go. I do feel like I'm going quick. It only has 80 or so horsepower, and I also have too many mods. I should have closed that, honestly. But I only have 80 or so horsepower in this, and as a result, it's not overpowering the rear wheels like the old Piccolinas were that we had, the V8s. And oh, you see what I mean by tipping over there? I was just on the very limit there, though, of what I could get away with. And even so, I ended up going on the grass. I just had to push the vehicle. There was no other way of carrying speed there. Oof. There's not where you're supposed to go, but it worked. I can feel it wants to go over around that corner as well, but I'm just not letting it. I'm resisting. Will it be for better or for worse? Who knows? I feel like I'm onto a incredible one. At least, relatively so. But then, maybe the third one will be better. Problem is, I suspect with the way it was tipping there, I just got lucky and I'm going to roll it on the third lap, no question about it. But again, it wants to roll. It doesn't quite know how to take circuit corners. Maybe there's just too much grip, but I think it's more a sense of a high centre of gravity, and that is not helping one bit. So keep it in third gear and just floor it, but go wide as not to tip the thing over. Same logic here. Shift on shift into firth. Firth? I don't know, my mind isn't working. Wait, I'm slowing down a bit earlier here. I can probably get into second. No, I can't. Try third. And through here we go. A few bumps, but that's okay. Slow it. And I can use that rumble strip to help me get where I'm going. I do feel like this is actually better than the second one. I mean, it's one of those interesting cars. It's kind of difficult, but it's not difficult enough. There's at least enough speed in this to go very, very quickly. And I forgot to mention the weight as well. I'm pretty sure this is under 600 kilograms. Very, very light. I didn't look at this exact variant, but for Maluch in general, is just an incredibly lightweight vehicle. So, round here we go. Flooring it in third gear, and I can get some pick up there, as it is. And I've got to lift off in the right places as not to roll it or do who knows what with it. I think because it's rear engine though, it has incredible grip, and that's where I end up rolling it, because it doesn't just slide like a front engine rear drive car might. I have other things to deal with, like the roll. 27, 28, 29. That's a pretty good one. Although it's far from the top of a leaderboard. For such an old car, I think it did well. So, this car has come between the Oil Glider and the Hopeless. And it really isn't all that hopeless a car. I mean, the Hopeless admittedly did have a few modifications, but it's just proof it doesn't have crazy power, and it doesn't have that power to push it around the end of corners onto the straights, as well as the natural tippiness of it limits the speed I can carry around corners. I can't push this as hard as a 205. And the Oil Glider as well. That car, I could just afford to push that harder into corners because it didn't tip. Although it was, on the whole, not the worst thing to drive. I believe it even beat the Bolide Corsair Competizione, which again, for such a little old vehicle, an old Italian economy car even, it didn't do badly. Anyway, without further ado, I'll show you the engine actually, because it is in the back. Well, it's not in the back anymore. But anyway, there's the engine, and I'll say, on to the next vehicle. Next up, we have a very interesting lightweight. This is the golf cart. Well, the lights don't work. There is lights, but they don't work. Anyway, what I was getting on to, this is a fast version of the golf cart. I'm pretty sure it didn't spawn in white before. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, here it is. I can change the camera angle. It will go quite fast, as the name implies. So, off we go for the second time in this. I managed to tip it over the first time when it hadn't even done one lap. Right, I'm determined to get one lap out of it without tipping over. I'll say that much, but if it tips over on the second lap after I've done that lap, well, I'll just let it be and leave it as it is. I'm kind of yeah, tugging at the wheel in an attempt not to get it to tip over, and I should not have jumped that curb. That was stupid of me. Nonetheless, I made it out. I'm going to go very light here. I think that's where I tipped it over. Ease off. This is a difficult vehicle to drive. What it is very light. I believe around 350 kilos, but please don't grab me out on the gravel. Yeah, I was deliberately going very light on the power there because of that. I'm still going very light on the power. I just don't trust this thing at all. I tapped the brakes there, and again it did that same thing the Maluch did, and it just slid in the wrong way. This is perhaps the most terrifying vehicle I have driven. Yes, I think it is actually the most terrifying vehicle I have driven around here. It has got a bobblehead, but oh! Seriously? Right, I don't know. I've given it another try. Should I give it another try? Sure. I'll go one more time then, because that way it's had 3 laps, the same as every other vehicle. But I will have had one, hopefully, that won't have tipped it over. I think I know now. I can't push it over its limits though. If it wants to tip, it'll tip. I can't do anything because it's gone by that point. Right. I think it's best to just take a long, steady line. That seems to be what I've learned. Along there, yes, I could have cut the curb like that. That's why I did it. I'm going to tap on the brakes, but I don't want to use the brakes because of how it slid. And that sliding can result in a tipping over moment. Oh, come on. I will get to the end on this one. I'm going to do it because I just know I can. And I'm not going to let the vehicle stop me. Although it is impaired, I guess disabled if you will, by just the fact of that you can't carry any speed with it. I mean, on the straight I could probably get up to about 40 miles per hour before things go badly wrong, because when I was driving it before, even in a straight line, if you go too quick things just go wrong, and oh, I'm terrified, oh, wait, but very lightly, oh dear, don't want to tip over. I'm just going on the gravel trap, because as I say, I want to finish this one, and that's the only way I'm going to do it. I just couldn't have stopped before the gravel trap, so I'll just let it catch me in my time of desperate need there. I am around that corner though, as difficult as it was. The thing is, I can't give it that much steering wheel angle. It's like a pigeon. The problem is, whereas a pigeon often finds its way back onto its wheels, this does not. This is just completely hopeless in that respect. Thankfully, I believe it's got an electric motor, so I have plenty of torque to make this hill without trouble. There we are. Oh dear. There's some kind of hill here. Right, I'm gonna floor it. It's probably a bad decision, but anyway. Oh no, I'm going almost 70 in a golf cart. And let's do a spin of happiness. So, it only says I'm on lap 1, but there we go. 2 minutes 22.342. I'd be hard pressed to beat that by much anyway. So, I've returned with a colour changing golf cart. Now, in Core 2 Duo colours actually. Why couldn't it have spawned in these colours earlier? But anyway, yeah, you see that was the problem. It slid. Like, just, if I get it up to speed, I can show you what I mean by the sliding. I just brake and it does that. Not safe at all. Anyway, this set a time of 2:22.3 something. It's escaped my mind right now, but it was just under 28 seconds below the remote controlled track car. And yeah, more than twice as quick as the Canon. So we're not at the bottom of the leaderboard. Well, We didn't get a did not finish, so of course we wouldn't be at the bottom. But anyway, I don't know what to say. I'd have to say I'm disappointed, but at the same time, I'm really impressed it just managed to get a lap. Either way, it's survived. It made it out, and for something that's not supposed to be tracked, I guess you could say it did quite well. Yeah, either way, without getting caught up in my waffling too much, I'll move on to the next vehicle. So, here for our final vehicle, I have something I've created in automation. And indeed, it is light. It is also very, very strange. It has a 550cc engine, making 21 horsepower. I got there eventually. It's called the Wallpaper Paste 1.0 because that's about how exciting it is. And it has a giant headlight. There we go. Yeah, it's from 1965 as well, by the way. It has a very strange suspension setup for a microcar, leaf springs all around, but they were what I were able to get working, so they're what I stuck with. Front engine rear drive, as you might be able to tell, and depending on what application you believe, the weight changes. Automation thinks it's just above, Automation thinks it's just above 300 kilos, and BeamNG thinks it's just below 300 kilos. Either way, it's lighter than the golf cart, that's the important thing. And it's also it handles like a Lotus compared to that thing. I mean, this is not a good handling vehicle, but oh, talking about rolling, eh? That was just my stupidity. Okay, third time I'm retrying this because before I managed to roll the vehicle and then I managed to wreck it and I can't seem to correct them. Seems some update has changed that ability. So, yeah. I think I know now though not to do stupid things. Ugh. It does lift wheels. It has problems that are entirely different to the golf cart because of how the weight is around it. It will lift either the front or the back wheels, and I should not go over curbs with this. This thing does not like curbs. And as you can see, it's not very refined. It's like, I don't know. It's like you've got a really badly mounted GoPro. It's probably the best way I can put it. Because it's vibrating all over the place. But no, that's actually how it rides. Come on. I suspect though, unlike the golf cart, this could actually have some speed. It's got nowhere near the power. The golf cart supposedly had 40 horsepower and this has 21. But, you know, it's able to actually take a corner. Light on the brakes, light on the brakes, light on the brakes. Because I could feel those rear ends lifting up. And that was not good. That tipped side to side. This tips front to back. Or back to front, or whichever way. But it's not a way I want to tip. And I've still got that message up. Anyway. I'm just keeping it in third gear, basically. Seems to be the happy gear. Second now, because it's a lower speed area. There we go. Yep, I think it's already quicker. Mind, I did kind of get some head start with this. Why have I put it in fourth? Fourth is just the economy gear. It's useless for actually accelerating. And I really lost the rear end. It's also easy to wreck the suspension on this thing. I mean, it's not that tough. Put it that way. It's quite flimsy. It's also made of fiberglass. Should probably not forget to mention that. Ooh. As I go across a curb and somehow survive it. floor it. Got a nice, steady, naturally aspirated power curve, as it is a pre-turbo car. So I won't have any turbos cutting in at the very least. The weight balance is not good as well. There's 60% of the weight at the front. And I don't know, although that's not good, I tried my best to improve it, but that's all I could get it to. You'll see drum brakes all around, but believe me, they are more than enough. I couldn't change them though, because these wheels are kind of set 10-inch wheels. You could probably put bigger ones on, but it would look really weird, and I would basically have made a monster truck out of it. It seems to be holding up, this car. If I can get a sub 2 minute time, I will be happy. But it's quite clear this is still going to come just above the golf cart. It just doesn't have the speed to it. I'm going to say that and then it's going to annihilate loads of other vehicles. The Bolide Corsair Competizione and all of them. Yep, second gear. Third gear. Going a bit wide here because it seems safe. And I needed to shift up there, because although it didn't seem to have any benefit to me, apparently there was benefit. Also, I'll mention it doesn't have 60 miles per hour in it, unless maybe you're going downhill, because it tops out at 57, which for the purposes of it, which would be a city car, would be okay. And I should have shifted down earlier there. Somehow I managed to correct the car in a way that I think shouldn't have harmed my speed too much, but the first lap was looking like the best. As I say, it's always going to be that vehicle that's just above the golf cart. I got one good run and that was it. Third gear. Got a lift off. Yeah, I'm not going to brake here, I'm just going to lift. Knowing what braking can do to this, lifting is bad enough in how it affects the weight balance, but braking, well, there you're in a world of trouble, and I should not have raised the car onto that curb, knowing how it is. I mean, still, the fact that it beats a golf cart with nowhere near as much power, it says a lot about the handling of this thing. And I guess, to a certain extent, the weight. And round here we go. The key rule of this is just treat it gently. I would have put smaller wheels, still like 8 inches on or something, but I couldn't. It's just, this car was not what automation was meant to simulate, so in itself, that's why. That's probably why I've had to go with leaf springs, because the way it is very odd. Also, I wanted it to be more primitive than it perhaps should have been, just for a kind of joke of it. Woo! And we're doing a front flip. Let's see. I didn't get a sub 2 minute time, but I did improve. I think it was about 2 minutes free, so yes. Just above the golf cart, but still below the remote controlled car. Nonetheless, you can't carry people on the remote controlled car, so I'll have to take that as a success. And I know the exhaust hangs down there, even though the exhaust pipe is up here. It's strange. Nonetheless, I built a car that could go around a circuit, and so it did. Just let you have a good look at the power curve as I rev it. Because there's nothing to give, but it gives quite a good flat curve. That's probably what helped it, along with the fact that, well, the golf cart was terrible to drive. This is terrible to drive as well, just not quite as terrible to drive. But anyway, with all being said and done, I'm going to leave it here for today and say, ooh, that's very spiky. No, and say goodbye until another day.